The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. Between science and ignorance, there is filler.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Filler, originally broadcast June 12th, 2016. And the first words out of my mouth has to be, I'm back, bitches. The good weather has improved my mood greatly. I have caught up on my archiving at paranormalfiller.com and on scarefestradio.com. I've had a good week. I've worked my butt off, but I've made time to make to do the minutia for Paranormal Filler. So I want to welcome everybody. We're going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to be actually even changing the time slot. If you want to find out more about all this, you can go to paranormalfiller.com. There's a blog post over there, about second one down, and you can read all about me coming out of the funk. Now, tonight my guest is Elizabeth Saint. She has a new show coming up with Nick Groff on Destination America, Ghost of Shepherdstown, and I am highly, highly honored to have her on the show's premiere night. In the radio business, we call that dumb luck. Now, everybody, I still want to point out that Paranormal Filler is brought to you by liveparanormal.com, your interactive paranormal social community, and is sponsored by Ken Boggles' House of Cards, tarotbyken.com. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. I don't do much on Facebook. I'm not a Facebook guy, but it won't cost. I'll put it this way: like me on Facebook, it will not cost you much of your timeline. You will not hear much out of me. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, I am a spammy son of a bitch. I will blow you away. But occasionally, I put something very, very deep and interesting and thoughtful into my 140 whatever characters it is. I just type until the computer says no. One last reminder, June 19th, Lockdown 2016, my event up to Mansfield Reformatory, Ohio State Reformatory. I'll be talking about that at the end of the show, playing a commercial for it and all that good stuff. But if you have not got your tickets, there's still a few left. But if you're free next Sunday night, it's a great chance to explore the Ohio State Reformatory. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Like I said, the honor is all mine. And everybody, if you're playing the home version, ElizabethFields.net .com. No, you've got .com. Elizabeth Saint. Where did I get Fields? That was my guest Friday night. ElizabethSaint.com. Now I do this kind of stuff a lot. I will also, before the show's out, call Destination America Destination Truth, just to prepare you.
That's fine.
So, well, the first question, right out of the box, because, okay, in the paranormal field, I can tell from my Twitter feed that, well, okay, my Twitter feed's an anomaly because 50% of the people on my Twitter feed have their own paranormal podcast. But the other, roughly 25% after that, want to be on TV, and some of the podcasters do too. How did Nick Groff find you for this project? Were you like sitting in the soda shop, or what's going on?
No, actually, Chief King from Shepherdstown, he reached out to Nick because he knew him from all of his television shows and stuff like that. And then they kind of, they sought out paranormal investigators that were in the Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia area. And they actually contacted my team at the time, which was Maryland Paranormal Research. And then they asked me if I would like to, join this quest to help Shepherdstown and all the activity that was happening there.
Well, when did you move to Colorado?
I moved January of this year, so it was a very recent move.
So you only got on TV because you were in the Maryland, a paranormal investigator in the Maryland area, and the first thing you do once the show's in the can is move to Colorado.
Well, it didn't really happen like that. They vetted a lot of us to see who would be the best fit and best investigators to come out and help the town. And I mean, it's so crazy to think that we actually filmed this a year ago. And coming out to Colorado was kind of an after effect thing. In December, I just wanted something different, so I decided to move.
You didn't move.
It's been great here, though.
You didn't move for the marijuana, did you?
Oh, no.
Okay. As long as we have that straight. Now, everybody, I've went through her webpage. I've actually spent like 20 minutes on research, so I'm way ahead of the normal game that I play on this show. I would have probably had you on this show even if you were not on TV, just looking at your webpage and finding out your paranormal background. It looks like we're going to have a really good interview here. The first thing, before we even get into the minutia of why you got in the paranormal, I want to hear about ghostly gadgets.
Okay, yeah. So ghostly gadgets has kind of been a thing that I started working on within the past year after I filmed Shepherdstown. And it was just, I don't know, I mean, I wanted to find a way to merge my engineering background and my love of the paranormal. And there's so many different devices that are used in the field, and some of them didn't really do everything that I wanted them to do. So I decided just to start creating my own, and that's how Ghostly Gadgets was born. So I've every couple months or so, I start creating something new. The E-Box, which was the first device that I built, was actually shown on Nick Groff's show Paranormal Lockdown, which was really cool. And since then, I've just been slowly building gadgets as I go.
Okay, everybody, playing the home version, electrical engineer, made a couple gadgets, understands what paranormal equipment does. I have trouble, the reason I'm pounding away at that is most of the people I run into the field haven't even read the manual for their camera. So, so I'm excited to hear that you have the electrical engineering background. And hopefully we'll have time to get into some of the theory behind the paranormal. Okay, now we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Tell us what sparked your interest in the paranormal. Well,
I've had experiences ever since I was a child. I wouldn't say that I lived in a haunted house, but I definitely had just a bunch of activity, and I think that it had something to do with me being sensitive and picking up on the spirits that were around. So there wasn't like a distinct moment where I got interested in it. It's just always been an interest of mine. But as a child, I was terrified, to be honest with you. I didn't know what was going on. When I tried to talk to my parents about it, it was more kind of just ignored and like kind of like there's something in your closet, there's monsters on your bed, like that kind of thing. And I don't think they really believed me at the time. And it wasn't until after I had already gone through school and I moved down to... This is about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I moved into an apartment in Virginia, and I had so much activity there that it kind of pushed me to reach out and try and find a team of my own. And plus, I didn't know anybody in the area. I was kind of killing two birds with one stone. On one hand, I could validate the fact that I wasn't crazy for having all these experiences in my apartment and everything prior that I experienced as a child. And then on the other hand, I kind of was able to reach out and get to know people. And that's kind of where me doing it professionally started.
Now, we, of course, it's not like it's an original theory, but a common idea in the paranormal field is that people who are sensitive, for whatever reason, call it aura, call it, maybe it's personality, I don't know, but do you just feel like you're aware of activity, or do you feel like you actually attract it?
Oh, that's such a good question. Because I would actually say it's a bit of both. I think that when I open myself up to a space, especially now that I'm older and I understand it a bit more, I'm definitely become more aware of activity. But at the same time, I think that it's almost like a beacon. You act as a beacon because they're also aware that the fact that you can sense them. And I think that they kind of get excited about that, like, oh, someone that I can reach out to, that I can communicate with. So I definitely think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I was telling some groups, a group on Twitter last night that they were doing a local hunt that I'm just absolutely, I love the place. And they were asking me some advice, and I said, first thing, well, I'm a dowsing rod guy, sorry. Electrical engineer, that might make you squeamish, but I'm old school.
No, not at all.
But one thing I did tell them, they said, no, we didn't bring it out. But I said, do you have real-time EVP equipment? If it's just a recorder and a set of headphones. The ghosts in this place love to know that you can hear them. The more interaction you can get with them, the more evidence, hard data you will get. And so I suggested that. I haven't heard how it came out yet. But that's been our experience in the place. So I do agree with you that that when they feel like they have a true interaction, that I believe it actually brings them out and brings them forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I think about any time I've used a device like a spirit box or something like that, I feel like it starts just picking up everybody on the block. And you just start getting all kinds of spirits coming through because of that reason, because they finally have a medium in which they can communicate.
Now, the Ghost of Shepherdstown. Now, I was unaware of this most haunted town in America, and the reason is because I become jaded in my old age. Every time somebody tells me a place is the most haunted place or a town is the most haunted town, I just smile and nod my head. But this place does have a really rich history. What can you tell us about Shepherdstown as far as... First, let's start with why they claim it's so haunted.
You know, I think, like you said, it has a lot to do with its rich history. It's the oldest town in West Virginia, predating the Revolutionary War. And a big part of that is the Battle of Antietam and the Battle of Shepherdstown, actually. So after the Battle of Antietam in Maryland, every house, building, church, alley, street, I mean, were just filled with the wounded and dying in Shepherdstown. So, I mean, the history there alone, I think, is the cause of all the paranormal activity. There's clearly a lot of haunted towns in America. I think it's hard to say which one is the most haunted, but I experienced things in Shepherdstown that I have never experienced before at any other location.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. You're listening to Paranormal Filler with Elizabeth Saint.
Hello, friends. Are you exhausted with life? Resent your children? Maybe your husband is cheating on you. Get yourself a tarot reading with Ken Boggle. He can provide you with the clarity, guidance, and answers you need. That's tarotbyken.com. He makes things seem less shitty.
And welcome back to Paranormal Filler. Elizabeth, okay, on the history of the town. Now, is it just, do you think it's a lot of places have rich histories. A lot of places are not overly haunted. I think every place is haunted. I'm one of those guys. I think we're asshole deep in ghosts, and most of them behave and are quiet and, you know, leave us alone, and we just never notice them. But some places the activity does seem to come forward. Do you think it's just an accumulative effect, or do you think there's in this particular case anyway, there's something about the town or the way it's talked about? Do you have any ideas about why this town, other than just the accumulative effect, or do you think that's what it is? Just so many people have died there under so many circumstances that it's brought it on.
Yeah, I think, you know, that was really part of our investigations why we were there in Shepherdstown, and we were there for a few months. And it really was because we're working with the police and we're working with the local historian, Dana Mitchell, and we also worked with a local medium, Lori Johnson. So we all kind of came together to figure out what was going on in Shepherdstown and if there was a source to the problem. And, you know, the interesting thing is, you know, I can't really talk about it, but okay. we did figure out what was the cause of all the increased activity recently in Shepherdstown.
Now, one thing I found, assuming, now I'm going to make the assumption that the preview reel, the statements were correct. This town really doesn't seem to avoid their haunted history. Is that the impression that came across to you? I don't know that they necessarily. What I saw, even looking at some news clippings online. Yes, people, 20 minutes of research. I actually looked at another website. Their stories. I mean, this is a ghost story town.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the time, I know one thing that Nick loved to do was he would just go around with a camera and interview people on the streets in Shepherdstown and ask them if they've ever had any paranormal experiences. And the responses we got were really shocking. It was really hard to find somebody in Shepherdstown that didn't have, at the very least, something unusual happen to them that they couldn't explain. But definitely had some sort of ghost story to tell that they experienced while living in Shepherdstown.
Now, this is based on my own experience. Do the people actually admit that they believe in ghosts?
No, I think it's a combination of both sides. You know, there's the people that have just had a lot of experiences. They don't really know how to explain it, but I think they're almost hesitant to say that spirits exist because there is still that slight fear of acknowledgement. And then you have the people that absolutely, hands down, they want to tell you all their stories all day long.
See, I can't wrap my head around that. People. I cannot wrap my head around that train of thought. I cannot tell you, and I do a lot of paracons and stuff like that. People love walking up to me and say, I don't believe in ghosts, but let me tell you my ghost story. And I'm like, dude, you're telling me a ghost story, and you're telling it as it happened, not as, oh, I think it was, you know, just a car going by and there were shadows on the wall. No, you're telling, you know. So I cannot either. People just embrace your beliefs. I'm not saying you have to go overboard, but, you know, just admit what you believe, and because let's face it, with paranormal being what it is in the mainstream genre of entertainment, I don't think nearly as many people look at you funny when you say you believe in ghosts as they used to.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, like even just within the recent years, 5 years ago, I used to keep it kind of under wraps that I was on a paranormal investigation team, and I didn't really want anybody to know. And then I found, you know, when people found out or they had stories to tell, that everyone just, it seems like, is really intrigued by it at the very least. Whether they believe or not, they're definitely intrigued. And it seems like it's become more accepted, which I think is fantastic, because then I can be myself a bit. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Now, do you ever just totally nerd out around your friends and start talking about ghosts and your little hobby projects that you're working on in the garage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love to. Everybody at work knows me as the resident ghost hunter, and all the blogs that I do, all the blog posts that I do at my work are I do ghostly gadgets blogs, and yeah, absolutely. I love to nerd out on it. It was really funny actually the other day. A colleague of mine said that they were vetting new products to bring in to the company, like sensors and all that stuff, and they were asking the vendors questions, how they felt it would work in the paranormal field and to detect spirits, and I thought that was hysterical. So yeah, I love to nerd out about, especially when it comes to ghostly gadgets and new devices that I want to create.
Now, I will say, what I just taking a quick look at the ghostly gadgets equipment, you seem to be going more for the environmental factors. We'll call it that. Well, you do have the sensing digital recorder, but most of the stuff I looked at was more when something happens, what else is going on in the environment. Is that a pretty good description of what you're trying to accomplish here?
Absolutely. What I realized when I was working with Maryland Paranormal Research, everybody's background was either they worked for the government or they were prior military. So we were a very scientific-based team, and what we found was we would collect all kinds of data. We would have so many sensors in each room. We threw everything at it. And what we found was a lot of our best EVPs would happen during times of environmental changes. And that was really interesting to us. We would have a dip in barometric pressure, or we'd have a dip in temperature, and all these things would happen around some of our best EVPs. And we felt like there was something to that. So a lot of my initial devices have definitely been environmentally based. And I want to use them to validate things that we are sensing and picking up on in the field. So that's kind of why I've geared them towards that. The device I'm working on now kind of leans away from that a bit, and I'm working on now something that will map the room and pick up on any changes that occur while you're not there.
And everybody, now this is where you actually gain to my respect on this. I see a lack of blinking lights.
A lack of what? Say that again?
Blinking lights. Your designs are, kind of artsy and antique looking if I'm looking at the actual products here on your page. So in other words, I don't see a lot of flashing lights all over the place like most of the equipment that I see at the Paracons.
Yeah, I love... While I've been building this stuff, I found that I love working with wood, and I think it's great to make it look kind of aged and not something that would terrify someone that isn't from our time period. And I'm not sure exactly if it would work yet or not, but that was kind of the concept, to make it kind of unthreatening and not look like some futuristic device. For instance, my most recent one, the GPS detection device, I made it look like a book. That was the purpose of it. But then you would also, it does have LEDs, but they're rather hidden, and it's not threatening in any way.
Well, to me, the only thing that's changed in the paranormal field in the last 5 years is the lights have gotten bigger and there's more of them. So tasteful LEDs are fine. Heck, I need one on my digital recorder just to know I hit the button. So I'm not against lights. I just I hate using lights to tell me something is going on, because it never tells me what is going on. And that is my pet peeve. I don't care that I'm in the room. I know something is going on. I want to know what is going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point.
Now, now what's the sensing? But I do want to ask you, since it's kind of in a different genre, sensing digital recorder. What have you done there? Oh, and by the way, you talking about making stuff look familiar? I know a guy that actually, for his microphone on his digital recorder, he put a mic in an old telephone handset and ran the cord to the
that's
input.
really cool.
And just for that purpose, so that when he told them to talk to him, he could go, look, here's a telephone. And because, he figured people's had telephones for the last 80, 90 years. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. Well, back to the sensing digital recorder. Tell me what it does.
Yeah, so there's actually two modes of operation. There's the sensing mode and just the basic recorder mode. So you can still use it like your basic digital recorder. But then there's a different mode that you can switch into that it kind of analyzes the changes in temperature. Also, if there's any EVP spikes that occur, and if anything were to pass over the box. So it has 3 triggers, and if any one of those things happen or go off, then it'll start recording for 20 seconds, and you can play it back later. The lights on it kind of indicate they kind of tell you which 3 of the triggers went off. And I did that as something you could leave in a room, and then it would be triggered and start recording based on an event that happened in the room.
See, now that's a beautiful idea. The closest thing I've seen a lot of people try to use the thing that comes on the recorder where when it hears something it starts recording. Problem with that is these things happen so quickly. By the time the recorder gets going, the event has passed. So that's a beautiful idea. Now we're going to nerd out, you and I.
Okay.
I have this idea. Now, one of the things, and I hope you're, or of course, if it's your firmly held belief, that's fine. I'll let you defend it. But I keep hearing the ghost hunters on TV say spirits are made of energy. And because of what they do and how they interact with us, I have come to the conclusion that as we shed our mortal coils, we make a transition from the vessel that we're in, matter, to something in between the two definitions. In other words, we're not pure energy, but we're not matter as we understand it. What is your as an electrical engineer, what do you think we're poking around in the dark looking for?
Oh man, that's such an interesting question. I definitely think it depends. Like, I don't think it's so black and white, and I don't think I clearly don't think that we have all the answers yet as to what exactly happens. In terms of what happens to us typically or normally, I would agree that we transcend our vessel, so to speak, and become some form of energy. I would agree with that, but I don't know to what extent. And what you're saying is quite interesting. I've never heard that before as something in between. That's an interesting thing to keep in mind, too, that's possible.
I've been trying, what it is, I don't like a cold spot, okay? When we encounter a cold spot, the thing is, people say, oh, they're drawing the energy out of the room so that they can do something. And I say, no. Yeah. If you open your refrigerator door and feel the cold air, the refrigerator doesn't care that you're in the room. You just open the door. When our batteries go dead, I don't think the ghost giver... we had ghost stories before we had AA batteries. I think that is an effect, not a cause. I think that the paranormal event, to use the broad term, creates certain environmental factors. And the only way I was trying to rationalize that in my mind was, okay, energy's energy. We've got a whole scale of energy. Matter's matter. We understand what matter is. But what if this is a transitional between the two that we don't understand, and if when that matter interacts with our matter, i.e. air, etc., it creates these environmental effects. So that see, I am a thinker. Everybody thinks I'm a dumbass, but I think these things. Now I can't prove anything because I'm not as smart as you are. But so once this whole TV thing's run its course, you can look into that for me.
No, absolutely. I think that's a really great theory. I think that's something that not everyone really considers, because everybody is, on the bandwagon that if your batteries are draining, they're acquiring energy to manifest and all of that stuff. But I think it's really interesting to kind of look at it from your perspective and and think about it just changing the environment and having all of that different kind of energy coming together. So I don't know. I think you're onto something, honestly.
Well, I mean, some researchers have even said they've recorded very, very small but measurable gamma spikes when a strong paranormal event occurs. And so if matter annihilates, there's a word for the evening, annihilates. That would be an effect, and also e-impulse, maybe a small e-impulse that's just enough to drain your batteries, because the ones in your pocket always seem to be okay.
Wow, yeah.
See, all right. So you can look into that for me. But I do love the idea behind that device, because I that's what I care about, is the environmental factors. We're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more Paranormal Filler from Elizabeth Saint.
Lockdown 2016 at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. June 19th, join Paul Bradford, Brian Cano, Christopher St. Booth, Deb and Nick Lance, Chris Dedman, myself, and many more icons of the paranormal field. Enjoy a celebrity meet and greet, an investigation of the entire prison, including areas that are normally not open to the public. There's even a magic show by illusionist Reed Masterson of Impossible Magic. All this and a late-night meal with the celebrity guest. The proceeds from this event benefit Unity, a Journey of Hope, a charity that grants wishes to adults with life-limiting illnesses. Purchase your tickets now at lockdown2016.eventbrite.com or visit Unity, a Journey of Hope.org to learn more. Unity, a Journey of Hope, changing lives one wish at a time.
And welcome back to Paranormal Filler. My guest tonight is Elizabeth Saint, and she is on the new Destination America series. Ghost of Shepherdstown premieres June 12th. That's tonight, as this is recorded live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. Now, since you've been in the paranormal field a while, now trust me, things get completely different now that you at the Paracons. You're the one on the other side of the table. But I'm going to ask this to you as an electrical engineer and your observations in the field. Are there any areas, such as I just pointed out, that you feel the paranormal field is just spending way too much time on and barking up the wrong tree?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think that, this might sound strange coming from somebody that, builds paranormal devices and uses instrumentation to validate my experiences. But, I think sometimes we lose sight of our own abilities to tune into what's going on around us. And sometimes we lose out on the experience that we can have communicating with other spirits. And I only say that because I've had some experiences on investigations that were very spiritual, and I might have not gotten all the evidence, but it definitely made me grow more as an investigator, even as a human being. So I think that there has to remain this balance that we're not just going into a location, getting a bunch of evidence and leaving. Like, we are dealing with other beings and other spirits as well. And we can very much so become them eventually. And I think I worry sometimes that people lose sight of that.
One of the things I was told when I first got into the paranormal field, and I agree with you, leave your beliefs at the door. And that's another thing. I can never wrap my head around that. I went into a location believing in ghosts. Raised good old Judeo-Christian. I believe, as far as your typical ghost. Now, there's a lot of other stuff out there. So, in other words, I believe in deer, but I'm not saying rabbits don't exist. But when they would say, leave your beliefs at the door, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I am, by broad definition, ghost hunting. So therefore, why would I bother hunting for something that I don't even believe in, even exist? So I could never do that. So and then once I got in the field, then I did what you said. I tried to ignore the psychic side of the field, the metaphysical side, I don't want to say spiritual side because I have my belief structure, but I was leery about working with anybody that claimed any type of sensitivity or mediumship. And I learned very quickly that it was impossible for me to ignore that. Now, it didn't mean I had to put any faith in any particular psychic, but it did mean that I had to. I saw enough crap that I could not deny that side of it. So then I embraced it and pursued it, and I'm just a regular little pseudo psychic myself nowadays. So do you like that term, pseudo psychic?
Yeah.
Okay. Now back to the show. So we were talking earlier about how the town embraced it. Was this really a project that came about because the police chief or whoever sought out someone to come in and investigate this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it wasn't like it was always like that, but for some reason there was just an increase in paranormal activity. And it's not like people called up and said, oh, there's a ghost in my house all the time. It was more like the police started, going onto these calls and getting to these houses and realizing that the break-ins and people seeing other people in the house that weren't there, that there was no substance to them and there was no explanation as to why they were happening. So given the circumstances, I think it was kind of a last straw for Chief King just to be like, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe I reach out to people in the paranormal field and maybe they can figure out what's going on because there's no logical explanation on our end as to why this is happening.
That I don't want to say it caught me off. Maybe it caught me off guard a little bit when I saw that in the previews because so often I know people. I live in a fairly haunted town. A lot of ghost stories. Couple really good haunted locations, but the people that own one of these locations, they still the only thing that they really embrace about it beyond the location is the yearly ghost walk. That is, they in other words they're almost afraid to bring that into their public life, their elected life. And so it really the fact that he brought this to the town, I found very refreshing for a public official to do.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And that's honestly what really sparked my interest in working with them, was not only working with the police. I mean, that was kind of unheard of to me. I'd never heard of that before. But also because we could utilize Dana Mitchell, the town historian, and when we collected evidence and when we came across certain spirits that would give us their name or anything like that, we could go back to her and validate who we were talking to. And then I felt like we weren't just going into places and investigating, but we were going into places, investigating, and telling those spirits stories, which is such a rare thing to do, and not something you always get a chance to do when you're investigating, residentially or commercially.
Now, okay, let's talk about the other people on the show now. Because this is premiere and all. Okay. Of course, Nick Groff. Everybody knows Nick Groff. Ghost hunters, blah, blah, musician, et cetera, et cetera. Tired of Nick Groff. No, I'm kidding. No, no, okay, but we know him. Now, who else is on the show with you as a fixture? And tell us a little bit about what they contribute and what you know about their background.
Yeah, so Bill Hartley is the other investigator. He's actually the founder of the Greater Maryland Paranormal Society.
I talked to Bill.
And, what?
I said I've spoken to Bill. I wouldn't say we're friends or drinking buddies, but yes, I do know Bill.
Yeah, we would refer to Bill as the moral compass of the team, and obviously that is the furthest thing from the truth. But he is hysterical. He's such a funny guy. But on the show, I mean, and he is the tech guru. That's what they've labeled him as. But yeah, he brought all the gadgets to Shepherdstown, and he's hysterical. He wore his vest all the time with. I mean, I don't even know all the things that he had in each one of his pockets on the vest, but yeah, he's definitely the tech guy on the show. He has a great perspective. He's incredibly knowledgeable of the history, especially when it comes to the Civil War. He was just such a great asset to have, and you know, like I was coming into this situation, I have obviously never investigated previously with either Nick or Bill. But we each brought something different to the table, and we really worked well as a team.
Now, you said something about a medium that you worked with some on the show.
Yes, yeah. So in some of the cases, we would call upon Lori Johnson, who's a local psychic medium, and she kind of helped us, you know, in situations where we were a little stumped for her to come in and communicate with the spirits at the location. So she was a great asset as well.
Now this is another thing that I've encountered, or I've observed it more than I've encountered it. But some mediums, to me, in my observations, put out their own brand of energy. And what I found is that some that I'm around, that energy will scramble me, and I've definitely watched them scramble other mediums. And then others are like psychic batteries. It's when I'm around them, my stuff comes through clear. As a sensitive empath, did her presence have any effect on what you were experiencing?
Yeah, I did notice a huge difference sometimes when her presence was there. And I found that, you know, I have heard and seen spirits in the past. It's not something that happens every day, but it has happened. But it seemed like when she was there, definitely my sensitivity was heightened. And a lot of times I ended up seeing what she was seeing, which kind of threw me off guard a bit. And I think that just our working energy melded well together. But that it was a really interesting experience because I've never done anything like before. Work with a medium like that in a paranormal investigation.
Now, one thing. Now, the show is promoted as a 6-part series, i.e., miniseries. Mm-hmm. Is this still an open-ended project that you might go back to, or are you fairly confident that the way this was approached, marketed, and put in the can, that after these 6 are gone, then it's on to something else?
Do you mean just in regards to that one location, or do
yeah? Well, I mean, the name of the show is Ghost to Shepherdstown. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. See, the name of the show is Ghost to Shepherdstown. Now, if you go to Milwaukee, it's going to sound really dumb, you know, Ghost to Shepherdstown, Milwaukee episode.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I think that they'll see the response that they get from the show and kind of gauge where to go from there. Obviously, I think all 3 of us would love to investigate another haunted town in America. I think that would be fantastic, just because people aren't really doing that. They're just bopping around from place to place. And the interesting part is you don't really get to see the connections that all these investigations and all these hauntings have with each other. And that's what we got to discover here in Shepherdstown. So I feel like it would be a shame to just cut it off at that and just not pursue it further. But I guess we'll see how everybody responds to the show.
I like the idea behind it. Now, of course, between you and me and the gatepost, a producer can really screw things up. But that being said, I'm sure the show's wonderful. But I do like the idea behind it that this is a prolonged study of a location. That's one. I think that's one place that we drop the ball in the paranormal field. Even when you're talking about a single location, people go into one haunted location and we got some great results, and well, it's 4 a.m. Let's go home, and that's the end of it. They don't follow up. They don't go back. They don't get to see if the place changes over time. When I'm talking about a single location, and the thought of doing a study of an entire area like that is just, I think it's a really great concept.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It was an amazing experience to be able to do something like that, because like you said, people usually just go in and out, and one day could be different from the next in terms of investigating a location. So, I mean, being in the town, I think it all kind of changed us a bit. I know I was changed from it, and like I said, I had experiences that I've never had at another place, and I think that's because I really felt like I became a part of the town and a part of the history, and I got to experience that location for a few months.
One last commercial break. You're listening to Paranormal Filler.
Learn the method at Bobby Mackey's with Brian J. Cano. Sunday, July 24th. Learn investigating techniques, participate in experiments, and come experience Bobby Mackey's firsthand. Join Brian as he explores the infamous Bobby Mackey's music world for the first time. His method tour focuses on the process, philosophy, and execution of paranormal investigating and is suitable for novices and veterans alike. Brian's goal is to take each attendee and alter their perspectives with critical thinking, basic techniques, and logic. Event highlights will be broadcast live by me, Wes Forsythe of Paranormal Filler. Be interviewed about your experiences as they happen. For more information, go to neverstopsearching.com. That's The Method with Brian J. Cano, Sunday, July 24th.
We've got a few more minutes now with Elizabeth Saint before I turn her loose and she starts doing her Twitter and Facebook and social promos for the show tonight. So now, talking about the town, Elizabeth, now I realize it's not a movie set. Everybody now, Elizabeth is also an actress and a model. So I realize it's not like shooting on location for a movie. But how did the town react to having the crew come in and stomp around the sidewalks?
You know what? It's interesting. I look at comments now, and a lot of people didn't even know we were there, which I find kind of shocking. But for the majority, I couldn't say anything better about Shepherdstown. That the people really brought us in and made us feel like one of their own. Especially a small town like that, you're not really sure how they're going to react, and a lot of times they can get very defensive about their town, which rightfully so. But everyone was really great about us, filming there and investigating and stuff like that. So it was a good experience.
Now, I do want to point out, everybody, we're going to give a couple plugs here, of course, ElizabethSaint.com. You can find out more about Elizabeth. But in the show tonight, on Destination America, Ghost of Shepherdstown, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, Elizabeth, I want to give you kudos on your website. Because you are a model and an actress, your website is so much more interesting and pleasing to look at than most of the black T-shirt crap that people involved in the paranormal spit out. Oh, you want to hear a funny story?
Thank you.
Funny story. First page, okay? You get the promo picture from the thing. From the show, and you're just you're not wearing a black T-shirt. You're wearing, it looks like kind of an off blue. And I said, good Lord, there's a big stain on the sleeve. And then I realized there's actually a big stain on my computer screen where a cat is boogered on it or something. So I went to scroll down. I said, "Hey, the stain doesn't move with the picture." So there, you've got that going for you.
Oh my gosh!
But so now, very quickly, how's other than this? Now, I mean, you're out in Colorado now. Are you still pursuing acting and modeling, or is that something you put behind you for the higher pursuits of electrical engineering?
You know what? I've always done as much as I possibly can. So modeling was something I more did after high school, and then I went back to college and found my love for engineering. When I moved down to Washington D.C. for my job with DoD, I started off paranormal investigating, and then there was still like I'm very artistic and creative. So there was still like a desire to pursue the arts in some way, and I've always loved performance art, so I decided to start getting involved in local indie projects. So my three passions in life have definitely been a mixture of engineering, paranormal, and acting. And so if I could talk about it a bit, that's been a kind of a concern of mine in regards to the show coming out, because I don't want people to see the show, obviously, and be like, oh, she's just an actress. Like, I want people to understand and realize that the paranormal has always been a passion of mine, and I take it very seriously, and I don't want like people to lose sight of that,
I believe me, I definitely understand, and I do know. Although overall, by and large, now I mean I lurk in some of the chat rooms and message boards, and ever since the TV shows started, people say, this dude's a plumber. What's he know about the paranormal? This person, and occasionally an actor will come through, but the people that make it to television, by and large, now they will obviously vary in their understanding and passion to learn more, but by and large, most of the ones, they know their stuff, even if it doesn't come across on TV. But I, as an electrical engineer, I hope you talk down to everybody on the show the entire time. So, and now one last thing before I let you go, I'm going to let you go so you can go do your social media stuff for the show. 10 p.m. Eastern Time Zone, Destination America. Everybody, if you're talking to Nick Groff in the near future, put in a good word for me.
Of course.
But actually, I do. I am DVRing the show. Of course, it's 10 p.m., so I won't get to watch it live but you know what I mean, in real time. But I want to watch the entire show. Then after it's run its course and I've really looked at it, I would love to sit down with him and talk about the content of the show. In other words, you couldn't give me spoiler alerts when I look at it the other direction.
Yeah.
And of course, you will always be welcome on the show. You've been a fun and delightful guest, and I wish you all the luck in this and your other pursuits.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll put in a good word for you.
Thank you so much. Everybody, this has been Paranormal Filler. Stay tuned. At the top of the hour at 9 p.m., we go right into shenanigans. I'm not even turning the radio off. Elizabeth, thank you again for coming on. Everybody, this has been the first hour of Paranormal Filler. I'm your host, Wes Forsyth. Stay tuned for Hour 2.